Iran and the US, they had their most serious military confrontation since a very fragile ceasefire took hold in early April. The US struck multiple targets in Iran after Tehran allegedly shot down an American attack helicopter. Tehran hit back by targeting America's regional partners. Tehran first hit and launched missiles and drones at US bases in Bahrain, then in Jordan, and then in Kuwait. Then came a direct warning from Iran. It said Gulf neighbors have a legal and moral obligation to prevent US or Israeli operations from their territory. Now, the escalation has raised fresh questions over President Trump's claim that US-Iran talks are nearing a breakthrough. Yet, Washington is projecting confidence even now. A US official told CNN that the strikes were meant as a warning, not the start of a wider conflict. The official said the administration does not expect the exchange to derail nuclear talks. Announcing the completion of the operation, US Central Command described the strikes as self-defense and a proportionate response. Reports suggest that US struck 20 different sites near the Strait of Hormuz in Iran, and this was in response for a US attack helicopter being taken down a day prior, allegedly by Iran, as Iran denies it. Another report suggests that President Trump was initially reluctant to retaliate. According to the report, he approved military action only after recommendations from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and senior military officials. Even during the latest Iran-Israel exchange of fire, Trump insisted that the conflict would not impact negotiations. Just before the latest strikes, a new report suggested that the two sides have narrowed their differences on 4 key nuclear issues. The New York Times, citing US officials and diplomats, reported that the broad outlines of a potential accord are beginning to emerge. Now, at the center of the talks is Iran's uranium enrichment program. Washington wants a 20-year suspension. Tehran has offered a 10-year halt. US officials believe a 15-year pause could be a possible compromise. Another major issue is Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium. Reports suggest that Tehran could agree to dilute or even downblend the material, provided it remains inside the country. The future of Iran's nuclear facilities is also under discussion. Iran has indicated that it could dismantle 2 sites but insists on keeping 1 facility operational. Washington is also pushing for anytime, anywhere inspections by the international monitors of Iran's nuclear program. It remains unclear whether Tehran will accept that demand. Progress on these 4 issues would mark a major step forward, but significant hurdles remain. The report notes that hardliners within Iran, particularly the Revolutionary Guards, the IRGC, they could still block any deal. Other flashpoints persist as well. They include Israel's continued military operations in Lebanon, Washington's refusal to unfreeze Iranian assets, and Tehran's demand for reparations. And all of this while Strait of Hormuz still remains in a blockade. All right, for more of this, I'm now being joined by Mahmoud Behroun, Director General of the Dubai Public Policy Research Center in UAE. Mr. Behroun, thanks so much for making time for us and joining us here. I want to start by understanding from you, do you feel the negotiations are still holding a chance to reach some kind of a conclusion? And this is when both sides, Iran and US, have had the most escalated form of hostilities since that fragile truce took place 2 months ago. Over to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me at the program. I think both parties, the US and Iran, want a deal. I'm not quite sure which party wants it more, and I'm not quite sure which party is willing to invest in that deal. That is what is not clear. But it is very clear that both of them need a deal. And I agree with you, there are parties who do not want the deal. Maybe they do not want it now. Maybe they do not want it at the terms set. But apparently, the US has made a lot of concessions from where they were when this war started until where they are right now.
Mr. Baroon, when you come to just deciding who wants this deal more, we've noticed a very visible and, of course, an optimistic view from Donald Trump. Anything happens and he says the deal is going to happen in the next 2 days. And we've been hearing that since a while now. But when it comes to Iran, time and again they've said that we are walking out of these negotiations, include Lebanon in the talks. Even when the Islamabad talks 2.0 were to take place, US was ready to send their delegation, even their vice president, and it was Iran who decided not to conduct those talks. Those talks never took place. First round of talks also eventually US walked out, but they still want that deal. My question to you essentially, as somebody who's in the situation, who's in the West Asian region, most gravely affected by this ongoing war, what does the Gulf want at this point? Do they want concessions? Do they want Iran and US both out of the Strait of Hormuz and for things to return the way they were before February 28th?
Well, frankly, we cannot have Iran out of the Strait of Hormuz because Iran is at the Strait of Hormuz. We also cannot have the US out of the Strait of Hormuz. What we want on this particularly topic is that things goes back to where it used to be before the 28th of February, which is a Strait of Hormuz that is a vital artery for trade and energy that feeds the entire world, not only Iran or the GCC or the US. So that's where we are on this. This is, for us, it's a principle, but it's not only a principle of morality, it's a principle of how the global energy and supply chain world is operating. This is how we see it right now. As far as the other elements of the deal, the concept of a nuclear deal, I think this is something that the world has discussed previously with the JCPOA. They've reached some sort of an agreement, and that agreement was nulled. And now everyone is looking for another agreement, whether that the new agreement is going to be better or worse. Our understanding from the preliminary point where President Trump started was that there should be no nuclear bomb. He very obvious way was take out the highly enriched uranium. It changed into zero enrichment. It is now going back to the highly enriched uranium, but we haven't seen really a major change on that. What we've seen is lack of talk on the other issues. The ballistic missiles, the drones, the regional state actors.
That's why, Mr. Baroon, I'd just like to come in because UAE has perhaps taken more strikes than even Israel, which is in the heart of this, or the cause of this entire war. But it's the Gulf nations which are taking the hits. And UAE has especially taken the maximum number of missiles and drones, projectiles through and through. There were reports that UAE also carried out attacks on their own. There were American reports which were suggesting that, no confirmation from either of the actual parties. But my question essentially to you is the onus now on the Gulf nations, including yours, to get the US bases out? Because now this is what Iran is saying. Till now they said that we're targeting US bases. It's because of the US that the Gulf nations are getting attacked. We are brotherly nations. Now they're saying it's the Gulf nations and it's your responsibility to get US out, otherwise you continue to get hit. How does the Gulf see it? How does UAE see it?
Frankly, you're talking about what we have right now in the region is not one war. We'll have three wars. The first war possibly is the one that the US and Israel have launched against Iran. And a lot of people would see this as an unprovoked attack, that Iran did not start the war. It was Israel and the US who started it. And you can agree to that. We've heard discussions even in the Congress on whether this war was legal or not, whether President Trump has took the type of measures. And of course, there was a ruling on it. But then there's another war, which is Iran attack on the GCC countries. It is also unprovoked. The GCC did not start this war. They did not do anything to Iran. It was unprovoked war. And it was, a very vicious attack. Civilian infrastructure, all of this was attacked, and rightfully, as you see, I said, even more than what Israel had. And then we had the third war, and that third war was a war against global economy that people in India, for instance, paid for it in hiked prices of gas. And they did not do anything to Iran. They did not start a war on Iran. It was Iranian aggression on them. So this is how we see things right now. As far as the bases, one, there is no bases, particularly in the UAE, if you're talking about the UAE. We don't have any foreign bases. We've got UAE bases that other partners in security are using it. And those are the Americans, those are the British, those are the Italians, those are the French, those are, the Koreans. So that is not exactly what Iran is saying. There are no bases. The second thing, that this is a sovereign decision. This is a partnership. We cannot be dictated if we should have a partnership with the US or not. Iran cannot dictate this. This is part of our sovereignty. We will not dictate on Iran whether they should have a partnership with Russia or with China or with the US. That's their sovereign decision. And Iran cannot dictate this on us. So the idea of accepting this concept that the onus is on the GCC, I think is flawed. It actually suggests that any country can go ahead and say, you cannot have your partnerships with this particular X country or Y country.
I hear you. Mr. Baroon, the Al Dhafra Air Base, and this is the air base where there is a major US military presence. It's about 32 kilometers south of Abu Dhabi. I'm just saying this for the sake of our viewers.
Yes.
This is a base that has come under attack, and there is US military presence there. My question essentially at this point is, will UAE also get involved militarily? How long will the Gulf want to keep taking these strikes and just getting sandwiched between these two warring sides?
Well, Al Dhafra Air Base is a UAE base. And it is not a US base. There is, as you accurately said, there is a US presence, but there are also presence from other nations who are partner nations.
Understood.
How long we will take we have the right to respond if those attacks unprovoked, exactly as Iran has got the right to respond. In the 12 days war, when Israel started attacking Iran, we've supported Iran. We've condemned the Israeli attacks and asked Iran for de-escalation. We did not condemn Iran. We did not say that Iran was the aggressor. And it's a right to respond in the way it responded. Now we're saying the same thing, that Iran is attacking us and we do have the right to respond. And I think that is something that international law accepts. It's not our preferred approach. We're trying everything we can do to avoid it. We have the long view on where does geography put us and puts Iran. And we also have the long view on how the world will need to operate to feed its people, to educate them, to put energy in their factories. But for us,
Mr.
that
Baroon,
is
I'm just coming there.
Right that we have.
Yeah, I'm just coming in there before we run out of time. There's a deployment of Israeli soldiers and personnel. This is regarding the Iron Dome system that UAE has now also acquired. It's been acquired in a blitz. These things take time, but it's been done in a matter of weeks at this point, given the number of attacks that UAE has sustained at the hands of Iran. Do you feel that has also aggravated the situation from Iran's side?
Well, the Iron Dome is not the only international system that was deployed during the war. We've got a system, the SAM system from Korea. We've got another system from Italy. We've got Rafale airplanes deployed in the UAE, French Rafale planes helping with this, and also the Egyptians. So this is not the only one, and I think it's very wrong to look at one part of the story. The big story is that the world have seen that their international interests is at risk. And I don't think this was a stand with the UAE alone. It was a stand against this idea of unprovoked attack.
Understood. But the Israeli presence there, sir, do you feel that creates more tension? Because Israel is not among the other nations that you mentioned when you look at it from Iran's side.
Why shouldn't that be the case? It is our sovereign, I mean, we have relationship. I mean, if there was a system deployed from India, should India be attacked?
No. My question to you is, Israel and Iran are at it directly. If UAE allows Israel to come in, do you feel that aggravates Iran more since they are directly at war with Israel? My question is only from Iran's perspective, not UAE's perspective.
Absolutely. But the question is that why was this system deployed after the war, not before it?
Understood.
Then the Iranian action is creating a reaction.
Right. I hear your point. Mr. Baroon, thanks so much for taking my questions. It was a pleasure speaking with you and getting the UAE perspective from someone who's been directly affected by this war. There will be more to discuss. Would look forward to discussing with you again.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.